Hey, what's up all you fishing addicts out there? Thanks so much for tuning in to another addicted fishing tutorial. We're out on the river today and we're doing an addicted life here, targeting some walleye, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to go over just our setup, talk to you guys about how we're targeting them. We filmed another tutorial today talking about tides. You guys can see that one right up here. We'll put a link just above. You'll see it slide across. If you want to go watch that later, you can go watch kind of about how the tides affect walleye. But first, we personally think that this is probably the most effective and best way to catch walleye on the planet. And Nick Popoff here from Peel the Reel is going to kind of talk about why and why we think that. But you comment below, what's your favorite way to target walleye, or what do you think is the absolute best way to target walleye in your specific area or wherever it may be? And with that being said, Nick Popoff, Peel the Reel Guide Service. Let's talk about just rods, reels, setup, the whole shebang here on how to get out and catch some walleye here.
Yes, so best way, we talked about a little bit about worm harness in our other videos, and that's kind of what you're going to see in the addicted life, but I'm going to break down kind of what we do to troll a worm harness and what we use and the setups. So rod and reel, any reel will work, any rod will work, you know, but this is kind of what I prefer in length, and I like a 10'6" longer rod. You got to remember that typically you're trolling heavy weight, so anywhere from 2 to 4 ounces potentially. So you know, you got to have the backbone to hold it. You put a little noodle rod out there with 4 ounces of lead, it's going to be pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So I like to go with a little bit of backbone and a soft tip. They're not monster fish all the time. You catch, you know, anywhere from 12 inches up to 10 pounds. So you got to have a rod that'll take it, and a rod that you'll still feel the little fish with. You know?
Exactly, and there's and a lot of you guys out there, if you're in the Pacific Northwest or if you're in other fisheries, you probably have rods that will work perfect for walleye. Yep. This is a steelhead rod that I use. It's an Okuma 9-foot, 12 to 25. To me, it's like the perfect walleye trolling rod, but you can use anything. If you got an 8-foot freaking ugly, it doesn't matter. Just get, you know, a lot of the rods will work for this setup because it's very basic.
Yeah, and it's super versatile. That's why I love this setup. Easy, anyone can do it. And it's super effective, and you can't argue with, you know, that you can't argue with what works. It's killed a lot of walleye. Lots of walleye.
So what are you doing here?
So basically, what I do is on my reel. This is real important because you're obviously trolling, and sometimes you're trolling pretty fast. So I use a braided line, typically anywhere from 30. I like 30, but a lot of people run all the way up to 50. Like I said, use what's on your reel.
Yeah, that 65-pound P line, that's their XTCB, you know, the 8 carrier braid.
I love that stuff. Yeah, that's what I use on my spinning reels. But here is the reason I use this braided line is and the reason I use 30-pound versus 65 or 80 or whatever anyone uses. You can use really anything, but the thicker diameter, the more drag you have, and you're really trying to keep, you know, use as light a lead as you can. So
that's true.
It keeps your angle a little bit better, but for the most part, anything will work. Braided line especially. I like the braided line. It gives you a little more sensitivity. You can really see what's going on, and your clients can tell, or whoever you're fishing with. It's really easy to tell when you're getting bit. So any braid, anywhere from 30 to 65 pounds, let's say.
Yeah. Line counter, what do you think? You think it's necessary to have a line counter? Or?
You don't need it, but it's going to make it a lot easier. You know, it's nice to be able to see, like, when you're fishing a certain depth and you know you're fishing, like, a lot of this area that we fish is super flat and, you know, stays consistent depth. So you could say go to 20. You know, it's a little more effective. I prefer a line counter. You don't have to have them. Actually, today I didn't fish with my line counter, so you can do it either way. It's just nice to know your depth, and you know, if you're getting bit, you can go back down to 35. You just got bit there, you know. So, but rod, reel, that's pretty much the basic setup. And then what I do is I come down to a bead chain. You don't need the bead chain, but as little of rotation on. You don't want things to get spun up. So, you know, you spin your braid up and all of a sudden your braid's breaking off and stuff. So anything, this just to eliminate spin. And then
down, you got a duo snap on there?
Yes, and then down to a duo snap. So, and you'll see why I use the duo snap here in a second. And I like the duo snaps because they're a little more heavy duty. You know, they're nice and heavy duty, so when they clip onto this thing, they're not going to pop loose. A lot of guys use these generic swivels like this. You put it on there and it gets hung up, you're going to lose everything.
Yeah.
So I like to put a duo snap on there onto my bottom walker. So this is a 3-ounce bottom walker. The idea behind this bottom walker is that when this thing is down on the bottom, instead of using a round lead or a triangle lead, your lead would be dragging into stuff. You know, there's all kinds of rocks and trees and all kinds of stuff down there. So the idea of this bottom walker is that this little piece of metal just drags and ticks along the bottom like this, and it eliminates a lot of snags. I mean, you really do. If you tried to troll lead where we were fishing today, you'd be in trouble.
Oh, we would have lost every piece of lead we had.
It gets spendy. So these things work great. This is a 3 ounce. They come in, you know, ½ ounce all the way up to 3-4 ounces. So
that's one question I have, and I think a lot of addicts out there. What do you like for weight wise? You know, because I've heard everyone tell me like, oh, you need 1.5 or you need 2 or you need 3. Is it depending on where you're fishing? Like, what do you guys think? And then what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I typically use 3 ounces, but there are times when you go straight up and down with 3 ounces and it's hard to get an angle on your gear. And if you're in shallow water, you really want to get your gear away from the boat. So you just lighten up. But out here, it's typically, you know, 20, 24, 25 feet deep. So you can go a little bit heavier, and even if you do get a little straight up and down, your motor and your boat's not going to be sitting right on top of the fish, you know. I do like my stuff to have a little bit of an angle. So if these are straight up and down, I just go to 2s, and then I get a little angle. I want about a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
Because you got to envision this thing. If you get this thing stretched way out, you know, it's going to be dragging like this, you know. And
yeah,
you want to try to keep that thing nice and, you know, vertical. That's the idea of it, that it sits like this and just kind of taps the bottom. And with this, you don't want it dredging the bottom. I mean, you don't want it so your rod tip's just banging all over. You want it just barely tapping bottom, you know, getting it down there. So for the next thing, we go down to this little swivel here, and that comes typically on the bottom walker. This comes on the bottom walker. I'm not a fan of these type of swivels just because they're so kind of cheap, but that's what comes on the bottom walkers. So is what I do, instead of tying directly to this, let's go to my little setups here. So there's 2 different types of setups I use, and I'll show them both to you. So this is your standard 6-bead, just kind of bottom walker rig here. You got 2 hooks faced evenly apart, about 3 fingers. I go about 3 fingers width in between my 2 hooks. And there's a reason for that, and I'll show you when I rig the worm. But this is kind of the standard walleye harness rig. You know, this is what the worm harness was created upon. It was like a spinner blade. So that's one option, and I'll set this one up, and then I'll show you the other option I use, or the other setup I use. So I tie my leader. I tie all my leaders with another small duo snap like this, and down to my leader with about 5 feet of leader. And then I'll let you hold that duo snap out so so Sean can get a shot of it for people out there. So the duo snap, and you could use any type of spinner blade, you know, whatever color, you know, hammered or not hammered, copper, silver, bronze, plastic, you know, any given day, anything can work. I just typically stick with the metal blades when I'm running these, and I do have some flat blades and some dimpled hammered blades as well. So what I do is I tie all those with a duo snap, and then you go back to the bottom walker harness here, the standard stock swivel that comes with it, and I just clip that little ball bearing swivel on there like so. And then you got your bottom walker, top to bottom, all set up. It's so simple. I mean, it's literally like, you could even simple it down even more than this. But yeah, this is so simple. You basically have a bottom walker to a leader to a spinner with a couple hooks. Yep. And it's the most, I mean, honestly, it is the most effective way to catch walleye, in my opinion, in this area. So I am going to grab a worm here, and I'm going to show you. Now this is the tasty part. This is the good part here. So I always rig my worm here. I like to rig my worm with the dark side. So there's a dark side and a light side to the worm. I like to take the dark side, and I take my top hook, the one closest to my blade, and I just take my time, go nice and easy up through the middle of the worm there. And then I go about a ½ inch in, and then I straighten it out so it sits nice and straight on the hook. And then the second hook, I go down, and then I add that one in. Kind of just guess it about what the distance of your 2 hooks will be. You got to remember that worm's going to stretch out like this when he hits the water and is down there spinning. And this part of the worm is really important, that little tail piece. So you want to make sure you leave a little bit of a tail. Don't just hook it top and bottom of the worm. You want some extra meat hanging off the back of that tail so it can sit back there and flop around. Then once you got that on there, I usually add, and today especially, was the secret sauce. So took a little bit of the Pro Cure garlic, and today this thing was I think it
garlic
got most
made
of
a
our,
difference, big time.
Today it made a huge difference for us, and it's one of those things like we started out this morning. We talked about it. Let's put it on one and see what happens, and then all of a
That
sudden,
one got a fish.
It got another one, and then another one. Finally, we decided to put it on all of them.
Yeah.
So they all started working. But with this, guys, with this garlic, and it's super sticky, and I don't typically put it to the worm or put it on the line. I add it to the beads here, and I think that's what you do the same.
Yeah, you don't need much. You just need a little bit of that stuff. And scent's one of those things, you know, I think we've talked with TJ Hester about scent a little bit too, you know. And he's a big advocate for scent. But if you look at the comments, a lot of you addicts out there were like, oh, scent doesn't matter, scent doesn't make a difference. But there's just been too many times where I've seen like garlic in particular, like really make a difference in getting fish to the boat.
Yeah, today, I mean, even today it made a difference this morning on a tough bite, you know, and there's not a ton of fish around, and you're trying to find and scratch those few fish. You want to take any advantage you can get, and that's why I always start with one, because some days scent is not the ticket.
Exactly.
You know, there are days you always want to find it out, you know, and
they just want the worm.
Yeah, sometimes they just want the worm, and that's the difference. And I'm going to show you this other rig that I use too, and that's another thing is switch up your blades and switch up what your presentation is. You know, you can do different colors of blades, you can do different you know, different color beads, all that stuff, because some days those little adjustments make a big difference in what you're going to catch for the day. And
so, you know, colors, what's your favorite like colors? Let's grab one of your leader rolls out and kind of talk about the colors. So make sure you guys comment below if you guys got any other questions, if you guys want to know more about this setup. As you can see, it's super basic, and that's why we wanted to show it to you, because there is lots of walleye in the Columbia River Basin all over, so go target them. They're fun to catch, they're good to eat, it's a blast. And then also you can get out with Nick and fish with them if you want to. Yep,
absolutely. So this is one of my rigs here, and I'll show you, I have another one here tied up too. I like chartreuse. It's kind of real similar to salmon fishing, you know. I tend day in and day out, that's my most productive color, but I mix in a lot of red, as you can see with this one here. This is an all red. I do red and chartreuse combo. It works really well. You know, I think when it all boils down, I do pink with the chartreuse blade. And I'm going to show you this because this is another setup we use. This is the other bait that I crawler harness with a lot. And all it is one of the Max Smile blades. But typically I either use this or I use one of the short bust flasher bling wings. And they're real similar to this. They're lightweight material that just spins and super easy. And I use this when the current's not running very hard, or we have a real slow troll going. I'll use this instead of a blade. So these are super effective, super easy, and it's an incredibly simple setup for people to get out and do on their own. I mean, it's you know, I think people think, you know, when people think about walleye, they don't know where to start.
They're intimidated by it, because it's not really a fish known in the Northwest as well. But I mean, all over the country, guys are out banging walleye, and they're super. I mean, it's funny that it's not big in the Northwest, because you go all over the rest of the world, and I'm sure some of you addicts out there, comment below, let us know where you're at and where you're fishing for walleye, because I know there's some of you in the Midwest and stuff that are just out there banging walleye. And tell us some of your secrets in the comments. If you addicts didn't know, I know a lot of you guys are reading the comments, and that's the point of those things down there. Comment with each other, interact, talk, bounce ideas off each other. Let's all help each other.
Questions. I mean,
let's all help each other become better fishermen, catch more fish. So
that's the goal.
That's the point of all this.
So that's the standard crawler harness rig. I mean, it's, like I said, it's probably the most versatile, most productive, and I would say the most entry-level way to start walleye fishing, you know, and be productive and have a successful day is to go out there and try it, you know, and you got the tools to do it. So
all right, well, hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. As always, don't forget, comment below. Please give this video a thumbs up. And Nick, you got any walleye trips that you can book, or you got coming up or anything?
Yeah, so I got some openings from now through the last week of July, and then I'll be heading out salmon fishing. So if you want to get out, get some fish tacos, and maybe learn a little bit while you're doing it, you can either give me a call at 503-484-4860, or look me up on Facebook, Peel the Reel Guide Service.
Cool. We'll also put his link down in the description below. If you guys want to just smash that link, you can head over to his website. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up, tap that subscribe button, and don't forget, those bells are super important. Lots of videos coming every single day. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you on the river.
See you on the water, guys.